Hi everybody, I'm Jeremy. Some of you may know me as Chef Remy on Instagram. And today we're gonna make macarons using a copper bowl. Now I've always wanted to do this because I've heard that it makes a more stable meringue. You can whip them a lot faster. The egg whites, if you have a copper bowl, if you do not own like a stand mixer or hand mixer, this is one way that'll get you there really fast and it creates a stable foam anyway. And what happens is when you have egg whites in here, the egg whites have sulfur in them. And since copper is very reactive, some copper ions can actually come off of the bowl and into your food. Not enough to do any like poisoning or anything, but enough to stabilize the foam because it can react with the sulfur in the proteins in the egg whites and create a stable foam. So we're gonna try that today and see if it's actually true. I've always wanted to try this. And yeah, let's whip some egg whites. 90 grams. And yeah, we're gonna see if this actually works. I've never done this before. This was a good thrift find, this bowl. If you find these anywhere, I would definitely get them. Okay, it looks like we're right around 90-ish, that's good. All right, so I'm not even gonna add any cream of tartar to this. Most of the time you see that in the recipes as an acid to stabilize. You could have also used like lemon juice or something. We're just gonna see if this works by itself, the copper. So I'm gonna do a time lapse of how long this takes me. All right, that looks nice and frothy. I'm gonna start adding my sugar. You do want this to dissolve, so you wanna mix this pretty well and add it in increments so it can have a chance to dissolve. Add some more sugar. Another, maybe a third of it at a time will do. Oops. Make sure you don't spill it like me. Hope there's no grease in the bowl or anything. That will cause it to not whip at all if you have any grease in your bowl. All right, so this took around a little under 15 minutes. Took me a while to get the gist of whipping in this bowl, but it did work. So yeah, that's pretty good. As long as the meringue doesn't fall out when you put the bowl upside down, you should be good to start your macaronage, which is when we add this to the dry ingredients in your macaron recipe. So yeah. So I would like to know if whipping the egg whites in a copper bowl actually changes anything with the macarons themselves. I want to see if they stay the same, even though we're not using any stabilizers like cream of tartar like I usually do, or even lemon juice. Just straight up copper. And we'll see where we're at with this. So this is our macaronage. All it is you're folding in gently the egg whites, because the whole point of this cookie is that it rises and has feet, all because of all that air we whipped into our meringue. So you want to try and preserve that as much as you can. And just be it's kind of a happy medium in between like gently mixing and just mixing to combine. Because you do need to pop some of that air, or else your shells are probably going to crack when you start baking them, because there's too much air in them. And there's a certain consistency we're looking for. I will show you it. Some people call it a lava consistency. I don't know if you all have even seen lava before in person. Maybe on like some show or something, I don't know, but maybe been to Hawaii or something like that, but I've never seen it in person, so I'd rather just go by the consistency instead of that. I always end up under mixing these and never over mixing them. And that's probably because I've always been told, like, if you pop almost all the air, then cookies will be really flat and it just won't be a very good macaron. It won't be kind of airy, it'll change the texture, and they just won't have any feet at all. They'll just be like a normal chocolate chip cookie, as if it just, how it just melts in the oven. It would kind of be the same like that because there's nothing, no more structure. You've knocked out all the air, or most all the air in the cookie. Now there's nothing stopping it from just flattening out like it would otherwise. You can see here we're just cutting and folding and cutting and folding gently, but also vigorously to make sure we incorporate the batter correctly until we reach that lava consistency. And I'm about to show you guys that right now. For lack of better words, I would say it tends to flow, but at the same time, it still has some structure to it. So once it piles back onto itself after it falls, it still wants to kind of hold its shape a little bit. That's how I would describe it. This is a number 1A tipped piping bag. You pipe them perpendicular to the baking sheet and you apply even pressure and they'll make a perfect circle on their own. So here we give the trays a nice bang on the counter to try and spread out those macarons. If you've undermixed them severely and have really sharp peaks, then you really want to do this to pop those remaining air bubbles, or else they will crack the shells even after they're done drying because there's too much air in the shells. These, and my batter's a bit thick, so I'm going to tap them a couple times. Some people use a toothpick after the step and pop the remaining air bubbles, but you do not have to do that. So would I recommend the copper? Yes, and there's two reasons why. As I stated at the beginning of the video, it did end up being faster, even though it was my first time using the bowl, and it probably would have been even faster if I had previous experience whipping in that bowl than stainless steel. The second reason is because it seemed to stabilize the egg foam so well. Look at the feet on these macarons. There's very splendid feet. These turn out absolutely delicious. I want to even say that the texture was different somehow. It ended up chewier somehow. And remember, there's no cream of tartar, no stabilizers, nothing. So what I did with these is I usually bake them on 310 degrees because I have a gas oven. And sometimes the heat can be a bit uneven, but it really depends on your oven. Somewhere around 300 degrees is a sweet spot for these. So you have to practice and kind of fail to learn how to bake these, but I'll just show you the technique. The baking just depends on your oven and many other factors as well. So thanks for joining me today. Get a copper bowl if you find it. They're not just nice looking. You can always clean them up if you think they're not nice looking and dirty or whatever. And thank you for joining me today in making chocolate macarons in a copper bowl. Thank you. See you guys next time.